Thank you, Dan. Welcome, everyone. It's not Tuesday. It's an extended Monday. It's September 3rd, 2019. We don't have a Tuesday this week, thankfully. So, right, Shane? We'll just go right to Wednesday tomorrow and see. It's just a long Monday.
Yeah, today's a duck day because we ducked Monday.
That's right. We ducked Monday. So it is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019, 59 degrees outside, 6 minutes after the hour. Shane Matobin, half man, half amazing, is in Vancouver, British Columbia. My co-host, Tommy Goloff, your morning mayor. And this is, of course, the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And we're excited to be here with you. And thanks for taking us along with you on your daily trek. And did you have a good weekend, Shane?
I did. The weather was beautiful. The last day weekend of the year was a concert in the park, movie in the park. Oh, it was just, wow, I'll tell you. Nice living in a great country club. I think it's great.
Well, good. Yeah. Well, yeah. I didn't do too much. I have an American flag on my deck, so I put a Montana flag up yesterday and got that up. So I got American flag on one side and the Montana flag on the other of my deck. So I'm true American today.
Yeah, I love the dark blue background of the Montana flag.
Yeah, it's a pretty nice flag. Yeah, they're talking about changing it now that I put mine up.
Of course.
Of course they are. Yeah, they're going to put a new get a new logo or whatever on it, I guess. So we're never happy, Shane. We're never happy.
No, never enough. But we had our Canadian maple up.
Well, good.
Of course, the only one in the neighborhood. I mean,
well, yeah. I don't know.
People are so flaggish here.
Yeah. Do people stop at your house and say, "I saw your flag. You're selling pot"? Is that right?
Yeah. No, but people actually ask us, "Why do you have a flag up?"
Oh, yeah. Really? They do ask you, why do you have a flag up and what holiday is it?
Yeah, exactly.
You're not supposed to put one up unless it's a special occasion?
Yeah, that was last summer. So ever since then, we've just kept it up every day since.
All right. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
Well, our weather forecast today looks really good. In fact, our whole week looks pretty good. Today it's going to be sunny with a high near 85 and light winds. And tonight, partly cloudy with a low around 56. No real rain anywhere in the forecast today. Coming up on Wednesday, it's going to be mostly cloudy through the mid-morning, then gradual clearing. We'll get up to 89 on Wednesday. Light winds again. And Wednesday night, mostly clear with a low around 53 and northwest winds there. And on Thursday, sunny with a high near 87, calm winds again, and a chance of showers and thunderstorms Thursday night, mainly between midnight and 3 a.m., Then there's a chance of rain maybe after 3 a.m., but mostly cloudy. Low around 56, chance of precipits about 40% on Thursday night. More rain on Friday, chance of showers and thunderstorms, then showers likely and possible a thunderstorm afternoon. Mostly cloudy. Be 77, quite a drop in our temperature. And 70% chance of precip. And then on Friday night, showers likely and possibly a thunderstorm before midnight. Then a chance of showers or thunderstorms after midnight. Partly cloudy with a low around 51. Saturday, again, slight chance of rain afternoon. Mostly sunny with a high near 75. And then a slight chance of rain after midnight. Partly cloudy with a low around 50. And then on Sunday, chance of rain again. Partly cloudy with a high near 72. And Sunday night, rain most likely, mostly cloudy with a low around 48. So we're going to get a wet weekend, but a pretty nice week up till the weekend. So pretty good forecast for us.
Yep, and telling you, I know this might not be fair, but we just have to worry about having a long, cold summer or winter and a long, hot summer, and you're you're dry, and I'm humid, so that makes the temperatures even there. But boy, what people else are going through, it's just remarkable.
Oh yeah. Temperatures around the area right now: Livingston's 51 and clear, Manhattan is 52 and clear. Let's see, Galton Gateway's 56, Ennis is 54, Big Sky 48, and let's see, the airport over at Belgrade's 55 degrees and fair. There we are right at 59 degrees here at 11 minutes after the hour on September the 3rd. and our 10th month, Shane, going strong. Starting our 10th month here.
In 10 months, can you believe it? Knock on wood. Oh, there isn't any. Oh, I have wood.
Yeah, the longest for me anyway. All right. Yeah, what can I tell you? Life is good, huh? Well, let's see. On this day in history, we got to go all the way back to 1189. England's King Richard the Lionhearted was crowned in Westminster. Richard of the Lionhearted. What do you think?
Well, these stories are so amazing, and of course we get, we take great fanfare in talking about them. So I guess the importance is the date, 1157. So that's like 1,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
He was born September 11th, and he lived to 1199, which is pretty remarkable for a guy that age.
Yeah.
I mean, back then, 41 years.
Yeah.
And he was basically the charge. Let's go get those Muslims, in Jerusalem and throw them out. He was he had quite a interesting life in that he read, commanded the Third Crusades, because the first two Crusades were sort of expeditionary forces, right? They weren't really,
right. Yeah.
But the third one was pretty big, and it lasted for quite a while. Anyway, he died in 1189, well before the end of the third crusade, which ended in I think it was 1203, I believe, when they finally took over, when the Muslims finally took over Jerusalem. But amazing epitaph, one of those kings that was loved by all, and of course, if it wasn't for him, there would have been no Robin Hood. We have to mention that, right?
Whoa.
That's where the lore came from, because he'd left the sheriff of Nottingham in charge while he was away.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah.
That can't be good. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's right.
Well, a little later in 1658, Oliver Cromwell, name people might be familiar with from their schooling, English's Lord Protector, died.
Yeah, well, he was called the Lord Protector because he basically executed the king at the time,
mm-hmm.
or had him executed, and and for the as amazing as it sounds, I mean, now we're talking 1599 to 1658, so this is well before America and what you guys did, but
mm-hmm.
He made England a republic.
Yeah.
Hail the republic, and and so England was a republic, and they threw all the mums out.
Yeah.
Charles II in 1660 was dug up after being beheaded because they wanted to put him in Westminster Abbey. Okay. Anyway, the bottom line was, he became the leader of the free right in England. He died at 59, and by himself also being hung. Everybody gets their comeuppance, don't they?
I would hope so, yeah. From our text line, 478-8298, that was 400 some odd years of Muslim invasion of Europe, the Moors.
That's right. From across the northern part of Africa into the Iberian Peninsula of Spain.
Yeah.
Or if you
remember Jerry Seinfeld, the Moops.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Very good.
All right. In 1783, guess what? The Treaty of Paris officially ended America's Revolutionary War. We were on our way in 1783.
Yeah, well, they actually call it the Treaty of Versailles.
Versailles, yeah.
And the reason is there's so many darn treaties of Paris, okay? Mm-hmm. You remember, true. I think a year ago with Pete and stuff, we were having a conversation about this. I think it was Pete that brought it up. Anyway, yeah, there's like 30 or 40 treaties of Paris.
That seemed to be the place to go there, Geneva, to sign your treaty,
exactly.
So whatever. I mean,
so anyway,
the Vietnam War was a Paris peace treaty.
Yeah, that's right. So it was great. It was King George III and relatives of his, Charles III of Spain and Louis the 16th of France. They sort of swayed him with Ben Franklin, into finally having a treaty with the United States. They didn't want to have a treaty. They wanted to continue a sustained war. And the Europeans said, not a good idea. These guys are now getting powerful. Let's go. Mm-hmm. So they did. Of course, the result of it was the French Revolution. So most everyone that should have lost their head in Europe.
Yeah. Hey, think so. Well, it was the beginning of the end on this date. In 1929, the Dow Jones Industrial Average closed at 381.17, its pre-crash high. Now it's at 26,000 something. It was 381 back then, so you can understand if you lost half of that, which they did almost, I think. You're down to 150 or so. So, yeah.
Yeah, the interesting thing about the 29 crashes, a lot of people analyzed it, looked at it, made a determination of that Black Thursday on October 24th. One of the interesting aspects I found about it was what I've talked about on this show, and that was a over distribution of stock, meaning there was not a lot of stock at the time, and it was over distributed, but to a small number of people. 92% of the stock in the United States at the time was held by less than 10% of the people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that's why it had such a devastating effect overall. People were, real quick thing, just an iota. Stocks were so expensive that people that wanted to trade them went to what were called bucket shops, where were off the main street of the New York Stock Exchange, in these bars where they would post prices and then trade the prices up and down a day. Mm-hmm. They weren't actually trading on the stocks themselves, but just trading on the prices and going up every day. Yeah. So it was sort of like the day traders that caused the crash of '99, which we should talk about it because a lot of similarities.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's go back to our text line. Got a couple texts coming in. 478-8298. Ben Franklin had girlfriends in Paris, so that's I guess that was why we went over there. So Ben could visit the babes.
Ben had, he had them everywhere, man. Yeah. He was a dancing kind of guy. I mean, and the amazing thing is. You look at the picture of the guy with the cane, and it's like, wow, must have cost him an awful lot.
Right. I thought the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 was to prevent the 29 crash. So much for Keynes, I guess it is.
Well, first of all, he wasn't around. Right. First of all, he wasn't around, and second of all, it was after the Bank Act, which you and I have talked about. The U.S. government set. Where states couldn't issue currency,
right?
Towns couldn't issue currency, banks couldn't issue currency. There was one federal currency, and the Treasury would print them, and the Federal Reserve would distribute it to banks. So the banks had all the cash that they needed. Number one, and number two, they made sure that checks were transferred. Like if you're in Livingston and you write a check. It would go to the Federal Reserve, who would then send it to your bank in Bozeman to pay the bank in Livingston. So, because checks were a big thing then.
That's how it worked.
And they claimed the big problem with the collapse of 29 was a lack of liquidity in the system, where there wasn't enough physical cash in the banks, and when the run on the banks came, there wasn't enough physical cash to give people, so the banks had to close.
All right. We got to take a break to take care of our farmers, ranchers, cowhands, and cab drivers and truck drivers and everybody else out there that does all the great things for us, moving all of our stuff around so that we can easily get it, even on our back doorstep. So, wow.
Yeah, cool. Wow.
All right. So here's Montana News and Ag. 26 minutes after the hour of 6 a.m. It's Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019, 59 degrees outside. And from our text line, Shane, 478-8298, why is the Fed autonomous? And I don't know that it really is totally. It does have to appear before Congress.
Yeah, well, it's basically basically, I would call it an agency of the government that's not a part of the cabinet.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That's why it's autonomous.
Yeah.
You know, it has an independent chairman like the FBI.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that has a period of to be can't be well, he can be he can be fired. Anyone in the government can be fired, but
right. Yeah.
But it's supposed to be it's supposed to be a bipartisan position. Let's put that.
Yeah.
But it's made up of, we've talked about this all, the 25 governors around the country.
Mm-hmm.
It's a large group of men that control it.
Right.
It's not one guy. Let's all remember, guys.
Yeah.
These decisions are made by large groups of men around the country that basically have Federal Reserve banks that they run around the country.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's not like there's not one Fed in Washington, D.C.
No. Well, the other thing, too, is that one of the reasons they're autonomous is so that government can't go in and say you got to cut interest rates, or you've got to raise interest rates, or you've got to do this or you got to do that. They're there to do two things: control inflation or deflation, and to affect unemployment, keep unemployment low. The two things. They're supposed to keep the money to where it doesn't buy less or doesn't buy too much, and then also to make sure that we create a money supply that's enough to keep people employed and and money in the banks to prevent a run. Yeah. So like I mentioned before. And the other thing too is the whole idea of it being separate and independent. Mm-hmm. All I have to do is look at South America and Central America, countries like Venezuela and Argentina, where the government is setting their interest rates on their money. Yeah. And it's devastating because they don't know, there's no sense to it other than their own political need, and that's dangerous, obviously. True. Yeah. All right. I know you've got all the info on Category 4 and 5 storms. So we got. We have a question from one of our texters. So we will talk about that when we come back. So because we've got to straighten out all the storms.
You can tell when I'm excited, can't you?
I know you are. I'll be right back with Shane and more right after this. 24 minutes for the top of the hour, Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019, 59 degrees outside. Jeff Krauss will join us at 8 o'clock, so stay tuned for that. Jeff will be in the house, and I don't think they met on Labor Day. Too lazy to work on a holiday, of course, much like Shane and myself. So, so at best, we'll see. Well, I guess we'll just talk about what he did over the weekend. He's got a new puppy. He's got a new dog.
Oh,
yeah. So we got to talk about the dog. So yeah.
So it's no longer just about him.
It's no longer just about him. That's right. Trump doesn't think he's ever heard of a Category 5 hurricane. 4 have hit the U.S. since he took office, and we looked it up. And let's see. Let me hang over here. The ones that have hit during his tenure, let's see. Let me find them here. We have Matthew, October 1st, was a Category 5 with 165-mile-an-hour winds. Irma, September 5th through the 9th, 180-mile-an-hour winds. Maria, September 18th through the 20th, was 175 miles an hour. Michael, October 10th, 2018, 160 mile an hour, and Dorian, of course, that we know about now, 185 miles an hour, September 1st and 2nd. So whether or not these were actually 5s when they hit the U.S., I don't know. Dorian's going to hit as a 3. It's not going to hit as a 5. And,
well, it'll pass. It's not going to hit. It's going to pass.
Well, they think it will. Who knows where it's going to go? Only it knows where it's going to go. I mean, it may go south for all we know.
That's right. It could go out to sea and regather and turn around and come back. I mean,
it could.
That happens a lot in the Pacific. You know, Hawaii's been hit twice by the same cyclone before. So
yeah. Well,
my big story is, folks, all of you out there listening now, this is very important because I want to share this with you. Because this is about the story and the news cycle. So all week long, because of what's happened in the Bahamas with this Category 5 storm, you're going to hear global warming, global warming, global warming. Well, let's look at the reality here. The 1935 Labor Day hurricane, formerly known as Hurricane 3, because in that year of 1935, there were 4 hurricanes. It was the most intense Atlantic hurricane to make U.S. landfall on record in terms of pressure, and the strongest landfalling Atlantic hurricane in terms of maximum sustained winds. Are you ready, folks? Winds that exceeded 200 miles per hour. This formed on August 29th, 1935. It dissipated September 10th, 1935, up in North Carolina. Now, the estimated base on damage data was extensive. I mean, it was also one of the most intense hurricanes ever on record until Hurricane Gilbert in 1988. So I just want to mention, as a Category 5 storm, that's based upon what is called, the Saffir-Simpson scale. They developed that in 1971, by the way, and it's respected by all meteorologists as determining, the size of a hurricane. This one hit the Keys. The storm surge was, are you ready, 20 feet high. And so it destroyed nearly all the structures between Tavernier and Marathon on the Keys. And Miranda in the Florida Keys was obliterated. And the Key West extension of the Florida East Coast Railroad was wiped out and mostly destroyed in this. So the reason I'm telling you this story is no one's telling you this about 1935. They're suggesting it's climate change. And so, if they don't talk about this story, then, they should be claiming, climate change started in 1935.
Which also the record for the hottest day in Death Valley was recorded in 1935. That's correct. Not since, yeah.
And we had the Dust Bowl in the middle of the continent.
And also the wind speed indicator was created in 1846, but many of them were blown away because of the hurricane. So a lot of the wind speeds now couldn't be measured because the indicator was blown off wherever it was.
That's right. Yeah.
So
anyway, so the big thing for this, real quick. Huge dust storms off the north of Africa and the giant Sahara Desert, all that dust that gets blown up, it blows over the Atlantic Ocean, and that's what helps hurricanes form, because raindrops, which fall on your head, require a piece of dirt to form a raindrop or a snowflake. So,
all right.
Without the dust of Africa, we wouldn't have hurricanes, not climate change.
Well, all right. We'll be right back because we've got to take another short break. So here you go. 16 minutes for the top of the hour. I was looking up our next question on the text line before I wasn't watching my clock. So,
well, it's a great question because
yeah, there we go. Question, getting back to the Federal Reserve, why hasn't the Fed been audited? Well, the Fed is audited on a regular basis by the Government Accountability Office, conducts numerous reviews of Federal Reserve activities every year. The board's financial statement and its compliance with laws and regulations affecting those statements are audited annually by an outside auditor retained by the Independent Office of Inspector General, and the results of this independent audit are released to the Congress and the public. The board's Office of Independent General conducts independent audits, evaluations, and criminal investigations relating to the programs and operations of the board, as well as those Board functions delegated to the reserve banks completed. Office of Inspector General reports are publicly available, as well as a dynamic work plan that lists all of the ongoing and planned audit evaluation work. In addition, completed and active GAO reviews and completed audits, reviews, and assessments are listed in the board's annual report. So all you need to do is go over to the Federal Reserve and look for the annual reports, and you'll see the independent audits over there. In my opinion,
I just want to back you up, buddy.
Yep.
And what Tom is telling you is based on the Federal Reserve Transparency Act of 2015. So it's been updated about a dozen times since the Fed was first created. So there you go.
All right. In my opinion, the Fed raised interest rates too soon after Trump's election, and I would maybe agree with that a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if they did or not.
Well, I think that as we've talked, that the Fed's, although the Fed's job, as we've talked, is inflation and employment, right? But I think it's been about maintaining the strength of the U.S. dollar, because if you look at sovereign debt, $78 trillion globally. 80% of it now you have to pay the government to own the debt.
Yeah, that's right. So,
80% of it.
Yeah, why not? Sounds fair to me.
Yeah, exactly.
The National Weather Service had to correct Dr. Trump's tweet that Alabama was in the path of the storm. He tweeted while playing golf. Sad. Well, that is sad. Whether or not he's repeating what somebody told him, I don't know. And we don't know where this thing is going anyway. So
no, we don't.
Yeah, to speculate is dumb.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So
poor choice of tweets.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Let's see. Morning, Tom Eagleoff. Just saw your poll question of the day. Voter fraud is rampant. College students voting here and home dual residence ballot voting here and other states. Nursing home residents voting, half of them have dementia or not conscious. Then the dead vote because county coroner is too busy to send a death certificate to county and state and federal agencies. Our poll question of the day: do you think the 2020 election will be fair? That's our poll question of the day. So let's see. Let's go over and see what early results are. Let's see. Let me refresh that. And let's see. 44% think no, voter fraud is rampant. 22% say yes, poll workers do a good job. 22% are undecided, and yes, if we get a voter system, or if we get a voter ID system. So we do have that in Montana. You do have to have an ID to vote in Montana.
The only representative republic or democracy in the world doesn't require an ID to vote. Now, here's how simple this is. We've talked about the solution Tom and I have agreed on is the federal government provides a Social Security card. You go to your driver's license, gets a picture. They put it on your Social Security card. Problem solved. The U.S. government pays for it all. Not a difficult thing for anyone to do. And you solve three problems: illegal immigrants, illegal Social Security cards, and an ID that people could show to vote. And why wouldn't you? It's common sense. Sorry, but it's that simple.
Yep. That's, it's pretty easy. So,
yeah, with everything your government pays for, they can pay for everyone's picture on their Social Security card.
Well, you'd think so. Although Social Security is not supposed to be used for identification. That's the thing, that you need to keep that number confidential. And that's why they took it off the driver's license. Your Social Security used to be on your driver's license. Then they came up with another number for it. So,
but they use it to ID you on your voter list.
I understand that.
Yeah.
No, I understand, but I'm just telling you that a universal ID of some kind, and the Social Security is closest thing to it. But You know,
I
if
agree
they
with
would
that.
come up with a universal driver's license, just had your state seal on it or whatever, but they were all the same, then
Yeah,
I think you'd probably have something there. But
and there's an easy solution, and the federal government could pay for it. It just they don't want to do it because guess what would happen? They would find out the truth.
yeah, well, that's true. So I don't
There
know.
you go.
What do you want me
Vince
to do?
Lombardi. It's a great day for Vince Lombardi. He died on September 3rd, 1970. One of the greatest coaches of all time. And of course, the Vince Lombardi Trophy is a trophy of the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And the great thing about Vince Lombardi was Bart Starr. And when you look over the 100-year history, because this is the 100th year anniversary of the NFL. By the way, he was 57. He died of cancer. But he won the 66 and 67 NFL seasons, and he was the NFL championship 7 years. But anyway, the great thing about Vince Lombardi is a perfect example of how a great coach with a great quarterback can win it all.
Yep.
Right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
and you've seen that. You can go back over all these great quarterbacks that have won 4 or 5 Super Bowls.
Sure. Yeah.
It's always been the coach and the quarterback relationship. It's been amazing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I'd have to agree with you there. And defense. They've always, Super Bowl teams have always had an outstanding defense. So.
That's great.
All right, we've got to take another short break. We'll be right back with more Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane right after this. 7 minutes before the top of the hour. It's Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019, 59 degrees outside. Caller waiting on the phone. So, caller, you are on the KMMS Morning Soapbox. What's up?
Well, of course, you did air on the stream.
On 1340, yeah, I've been getting text messages this morning, and we've passed it on to the engineer and the boss. So,
Yeah, I was telling Vinny, for me this morning, it sort of comes and goes.
yeah.
And I have to keep resetting it.
Well,
And
we've had problems for the last few days. XL Country is going through the same thing, so it's
Well,
not
tell
just
the
us.
engineer to put down the jack angle.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we'll have to do that. Yeah,
Okay.
there you
I'm
go.
sure that's it. All right, thanks for the call, Vinny. I appreciate it. All right, holy smoke, beautiful Tuesday out there. So except nobody can hear us.
Yeah. Well, it's Monday, Tuesday.
Well, we got to get this fixed for the 12th
That's right.
for 2 reasons. One is the Democrat debate, not the Democratic
That's right.
debate. The Democrat debate is on the 12th. And also sweeps start. Our ratings period starts. You'll be getting calls, some of you, about what you listen to. So by all means, pass AM 1450 on to everybody you know, everywhere they are around the country. So if you got relatives that have moved out of Bozeman or kids, that want to know what's going on here, turn them on to AM 1450 KMMS. 25,000 people a month come in here and listen to us. And, we've had people, as I said, they're complaining about the streaming. We've had people in California, Colorado, Florida telling us, hey, what's the deal here? What's going on? So we are going to try to fix that as much as, we've not had 1340 in Livingston since sometimes Friday. Is there something you can do? And all I can do is pass. I just sent an email just now to the boss and to our engineer to let them know that's going on. So they will. That's about all I can do. I can't do anything here, so it's got to be in the hands of somebody tweaking buttons or twisting wires somewhere. So we hope that they can get it resolved because it's
it's above our pay scale.
Yeah, it is. But I really hate it when this happens, and it happens far too often from my perspective anyway. So we will do our best. Both app and online are down, and and my radio won't pick up your signal in Ennis. So there we are.
There you go.
Wow.
Got to mention Viking 2. The only reason is it was launched on September 9th, 1975. But the trip to Mars is 333-day cruise. So that's a long cruise.
It's almost a year, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it landed, let's see, it landed today, or it landed back then on September 3rd, 1976. And operated until 1980. And what a successful flight that was, and a great success for NASA. And that and the Pioneer, the Pioneer 1 and 2 that they sent off into the oblivion. But Viking 1 and 2 were a big success. I mean, to get through the orbiting minefield of between here and Mars of rock, it's a big accomplishment, because there's a giant belt out there of meteors floating around that get kicked and banged and sent off into our solar system and sometimes towards us.
True, yeah. Well, also color pictures of Mars. That was kind of a big deal. We kind of got black and white on the moon landing, but there's no color in Arizona. And
to everyone's surprise, Mars was orange.
Okay, well.
Well, but that's the color you see in the sky, right?
Well, I guess. I don't know. Well, I see blue. I don't know. You're in Vancouver. You're in the witness protection program there. So.
Well, you got to put on those colored glasses you need to wear.
Yeah, that'd be true, I guess. I don't know, man. We're getting several folks who are texting about the streaming situation. So hopefully we can get it resolved quickly. But I don't know. Sometimes finding the issue is the big problem. Because you got to run tests of 19,000 different things in order to find out what's going on. So
there you go.
We're sorry. And we hate it too, because that's why I say we got to get this fixed before the 12th, because the ratings start in there, and we got to do something about that. So, we can't have people not listening. So
download.
That's right. Yeah, if you missed the show, you can certainly pick it up online at KMMSAM.com or on your smartphone at AM 1450 KMMS, and we record all of our shows, so they are there. We're at 1,430 some downloads. We'll be at 1,500 probably if that trend continues by the end of September. So that's pretty interesting. So you got 1,500 shows you can listen to, a commercial free, and no news, no commercials, no nothing. So they are straight through. So pick out one you like and check it out.
Yep, and you don't need to DVD it. You just check our mobile app.
That's right. Yep, that's it. All right, Jeff Krauss will be in at 8 o'clock. So we're going to chat with Jeff about what's going on in the city, and we'll be back with local news and views and all that stuff right after the news at the top of the hour. So, hey, don't forget, coming up this Thursday, we're going to give away 4 sets of tickets, or 2 sets of tickets, I should say, 2 each. On Thursday, we'll give away 2 by phone. We're going to give away 2 on the app chat. So if you have the app chat, text Soapbox to us. Thank you, Dan. Welcome back, everyone. It is 6 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m., Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019, 59 degrees outside. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor. Shane Montalban, half man, half amazing in Vancouver, British Columbia. And this is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. And as I mentioned earlier, right before the break, we're going to give away some tickets this Thursday to the Bobcat game against Southeast Missouri State, somewhere in there, somewhere in Missouri. I don't know. But we're going to give away 2 by phone, because we know not everybody has a smartphone in their possession. So we're going to give away 2 by phone, as we normally always do. And then we're also going to have a drawing on Snapchat, or our chat line, I guess I should say, or our app chat. And you can get that at AM 1450 KMMS. If you haven't signed up for our app chat, please do. And all you have to do to get in that drawing, and you can do that right now, is text us with the app chat at Soapbox. And that's just one word, Soapbox. And that'll put you in the drawing, and we've got a program that'll randomly pull somebody out of there. We just sort them all together by Soapbox, and then boom, it'll pick a winner. And we'll notify you by phone. We'll do that at 7 a.m. on Thursday or around this time. So if you want to get football tickets, we'll give away some then, and also we'll announce the winner of our app chat also. So if you don't have the app chat, get signed up for it at AM 1450 KMMS. Get the app over there. Or if you don't have a smartphone, we'll do it by phone here. We'll take the fifth caller or seventh caller or whatever, and you could be a winner that way. And we're going to be doing this on a regular basis. Also, coming up next week, we're going to have Jay Owen House tickets, and we're going to have some VIP tickets where you'll go behind stage, meet Jay, pet the tiger, do all the kind of stuff. That's a big deal there. You'll get front row seats or at least seats down close to the stage where you can see everything really well. And he's going to be in town next Saturday, the 14th, so we'll be giving away tickets next week on that one as well. And we got the Democrat debate coming up on the 12th as well. Just 10 stooges, I guess, will be up there. And we'll see how they play out with whatever softball questions they get from whoever's doing the deal.
That's right. I think it's CNN, I'm pretty sure.
CNN again. Well, Don Lemon and the boys.
Yeah, exactly.
Rachel and all the folks. Yeah. Maybe they'll get Chris Matthew out of Mothballs or wherever he is. Or that Cuomo guy,
Cuomo, yeah.
Fredo.
Yeah.
Fredo,
yeah.
Fredo out
be
of there.
Careful. Don't go there.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. Don't want to make him mad, huh? Well, let's see. In the local news, there's the Yellowstone Park has got a lot of visitors, obviously, as we know, but there are also a lot of one-star reviews of Yellowstone Park on Yelp and Google reviews, and I'm giving some second thought to going to Yellowstone Park after reading some of these reviews, Shane, because
this is going to be good. I got it.
Yeah. Well, one review says, seen one majestic and colorful thermal feature of arachnobacteria. You've seen them all. They don't even let you touch the geysers, and there's only black and grizzly bears, no panda, no polar bears or cave bears. So, I mean, why go? And there's no Starbucks for 100 miles, no street-side falafel stands. The park ranger said something about bears tragically ending that practice. And they don't let you swim in the spa pools. You can't throw your trash into the street like New York City. There's nowhere to get a pastrami on rye at 2 a.m. It's worse than Hoboken. I'd give it 5 stars, but the Wi-Fi is terrible.
I'd give it 5 stars.
Old Faithful isn't so faithful anymore. It doesn't go off on the hour like it used to, yeah. A steamy water hole and rabid deer aren't that fun to see. I should have stayed at home.
What a road trip, right?
Yeah. The rangers therein were unfriendly and frankly rude. Looking back now, though, I can hardly blame them as they dealt with some of the remarkable idiocy we witnessed in the park, from triple park tourists who we watched drinking tea from their parked cars where they had boxed in another, hand feeding the wild moose, and whole families drinking water straight from a bubbling stream. Rampant diarrhea in your RV, anyone?
Exactly.
My parents got a divorce after I got home from Yellowstone. Trash everywhere, rude staff, aggressive bears, and squirrels.
Ooh, the squirrels can really do a number on you. Yeah, that's right.
Had a distinct lack of cell towers. I was not able to play Pokemon Go the whole time. No bars, no stars. And, and and false advertising. The stones aren't even yellow. I like that one. Yeah. And you can just boil a pot of water at home if you want to see the same thing you can see at Yellowstone. So,
and with that, we're reminded that everybody has their own reflection and views of things.
yeah. So, yeah, those are the 1-star reviews from Yelp and Google reviews of Yellowstone Park. So I'm rethinking going. If these are accurate, if there's no pandas and no cave bears there, why go? Come on.
Well, for the fishing.
Well, that's if you.
Yep.
That's if you. That's if you fish. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I don't know. I would hunt before I would fish, I think. But anyway, that's.
Well, I would wager to bet.
Yeah.
Well, I think I'm certain actually that Yellowstone Lake is the best large rainbow trout and lake trout fishing in the world.
Okay.
They're big fish in there, baby. You can catch 12 to 20 pound lake. Wow, big time.
I guess people were expecting some kind of a water park coming to Yellowstone. I don't know, with Mickey and Minnie and the Seven Dwarfs or something. I don't know.
Well, have you ever been to the Chico Springs? Have you ever been there?
I've been to Chico Springs. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a nice place.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. Yeah. Yeah, I've been there.
It's old.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, that was another one of those 1930s projects, right?
Yeah, it's way off the beaten path too. You gotta want to go there to go there. It's not something you drive by. It's not something you drive by accident and say, "Oh, look, honey, a hot springs. Let's go there."
Not that I would want to see this, but did you go in the baths?
Oh no, not a chance. No.
So you spared everybody.
Yeah, we spared everyone that visual.
Oh, I don't know. The missus might look pretty hot in a bikini. I'm just wondering about you.
Yeah, well, the missus still has a figure she had when we got married, but
yeah,
I don't know.
And even boxers would like. Wow,
well, I don't know. Barnum and Bailey went out of business, so I can't get shorts anymore.
No, just as I say, you're the biggest human being I've ever met. So what can I tell you?
Okay. We've got all kinds of things happening here locally. The Human Resource Development Council, they want to create a community needs assessment operation here. They want to know each county they're going to go to here. They're going to have meetings in Three Forks to West Yellowstone to White Sulphur Springs and Gardner and all over. And they're looking for the 3 top needs of each county that come out of the survey that they're presenting, and so they can see which entitlements we need to really beef up and make sure that these folks are all taken care of.
Isn't that the point of your census that's coming out in a year?
Well, that's part of it, I guess. But this would be a first in Gallatin County, which currently relies on the nonprofit seasonal winter emergency housing. They want that, of course, and HRDC has to complete an assessment every 3 years. Housing, transportation, and mental health services were the top needs in the nonprofit's last assessment. So I guess to be a nonprofit, you got to do, you actually have to do something for people. So that led to a new housing effort, like the pilot emergency shelter in Livingston this winter. HRD's buying 20 manufactured homes in Belgrade to maintain affordable rentals in town, and they're working to find space for a year-round shelter. And, of course, they're going to put up the small homes. They just broke ground on that last week. So we have all of those exciting things coming up to make Bozeman just a picturesque utopia of mankind.
So let's spend more money studying the problems we already know exist but
Right.
can't solve.
That's exactly what we do.
That's an oxymoron.
I mean, we've got to justify polishing seats with our butts in the
That's it.
in the courthouse, or wherever. So, all right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be right back right after LifeLock takes care of you and some other things. 19 minutes after the hour of 7 a.m. It's Tuesday, September the 3rd, 2019, 59 degrees outside. Jane has a caller on the line, so let's go to the phones. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Calling on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Well, you guys would call it a caller. I might call it a victim, but let's just go with that.
This is Bob, okay? This is how he started.
Yeah.
With
Oh,
me,
yeah,
okay?
Bob? Bob's going to call her a victim for us, is he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another matter. Hey, what I wanted to mention to you, I saw a video the other day that both of you guys and all the audience really ought to watch. It's probably one of the best journalism pieces on television that I've seen by KOMO TV News in Seattle. And the name of it's on YouTube, easily accessible. It's called Seattle is Dying. And my God, it is a eye-opening indictment of what's going on in the Seattle homeless drug addiction world.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's about an hour long or so, but it's the level and quality of a investigative journalism that you would hope that all media would do. But these guys knocked it out of the park and really put a focus on the street homeless, the drug addiction, the crime, and then offered some alternatives for resolution. And I won't go into all the detail on that, but I just encourage anybody. It's Seattle is Dying, on YouTube,
Okay.
and it basically parallels what's happening in all the coastal cities on the West Coast anyway, Portland, San Francisco, and Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Really dramatic. It's so bad. I used to live in that area. I won't go back there. I would not go back to Seattle for anything. It is a cesspool, and I don't know if I can say it on the radio, but I will. It's a shithole. That's the way they characterize it. I mean, the citizens that live there. I mean, they're just very open and blatant about it. Literally pooping in the streets, open vagrancy, drug addiction. You name it. It's there in the street.
Shoplifting is legal. If you shoplift something to survive, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they showed that. There was videos of people shoplifting, personal assaults, and all of that. Yeah. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. It's really a very, very good journalism piece. Very unusual for these days to see something that is that balanced and interesting.
Well, it brings home the anytime you give somebody a pass from personal responsibility, then that abuse will is what you're seeing.
Well, here's a thought that came out of that movie, that TV piece, is that the notion that we have this homeless problem in these cities is really a misplaced description. What these people said was, this isn't a homeless problem. This is a drug problem that creates the homelessness. Yeah. And as an example, they interviewed a couple of these people on the street, and they said, well, how many of these folks that live around you on the street are addicts? And they said 100%. These are all drug addicts. And yet the police are unable to arrest people with drug addictions. And there was some good statistics about how many people are actually incarcerated. It's a very, very small number. It's like a single-digit number of people that actually serve time who get arrested there.
Yeah, I think they probably have to be aggressive or something like that before they're ever.
Even then, even if there is a crime that's a clear crime like that, once they're getting arrested, is the easy part. In fact, well, maybe not easy. It's just one of the parts that's easy. They just go into jail and get turned right around and back on the street. They interviewed these guys, these quote homeless guys, the drug addicts, and they said, "Yeah, I'm a drug addict, and I steal people on the street, and I know that if I go to jail, I'll just be not jail. If I get arrested, I'll go into the court and I'll be turned right around and put back on the street the next day, or that same day." So they're just kind of blatantly just taking over the city.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I thought I'd share that with you. The other thing, too, as I was telling Shane on the break, Yellowstone Lake, it used to be a good fishery for lake trout. But many years ago, half a dozen years ago or so, the park decided to play God there and eliminate all of the lake trout if they could, to stop the predation of cutthroat trout, which the lake trout had been just decimating.
Yeah.
So they've had commercial fishermen in there for years now, pulling tons, I mean hundreds of tons of lake trout out of there, to a point where it's a little harder to catch the fish now. But it's it's an interesting example of man's intervention to problems of that kind. We've spent a ton of money trying to catch all the lake trout. They never will. They'll just, get it down to a few, and hopefully the rainbow trout come back because of the food chain and the ecosystem there that has had an effect on other animals throughout the park. But anyway, I thought I'd just share those two things.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate it, Bob.
Thank you, Robert. Have a good day.
Okay. Caller, you're on the air. What's going on?
There's a large number of drug addicts that never become homeless. One of the best known, well-known drug addicts who's never become homeless is Rush Limbaugh.
Yep, that's true.
Rush Limbaugh, of course, if he weren't Rush Limbaugh, he would probably still be in jail from his escapades there in New York City. Where
I think we've heard this from you before, haven't we?
He couldn't get enough OxyContin from the pharmacist, so he sent somebody out on the street, one of his minions out on the street, to buy illegally for him out on the street.
Yep, he's documented that on his program many times.
Yeah, he's documented that he was a user, and he's admitted to it, and he gave it up, and he's been dry for a number of years. So
but you got to remember that the old thing is true, that once you're an addict, you're always an addict. Just because you're no longer addicted to the drug doesn't mean you're not still an addict in your head, because that's exactly where addiction starts, is in your head.
Yes, of course, like alcoholism and any other insidious problem you may have, right? You either overcome it or you let it destroy you.
Well, in Rush Limbaugh's case, it would have destroyed him if he hadn't been so rich that he couldn't afford to go out and buy 2 cochlear implants so he could actually hear to be able to do his show still.
True. Yeah. Well,
but the thing is you still hear the man talking on a regular basis. Every time it comes up about drugs, what he thinks we should do about drugs is we should lock everybody up that's involved in the drug trade and throw away the key. Well, I suggest that maybe he should.
Well, no, I think you should hold him up as an example of how you can survive.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the thing is that maybe we should find him a nice, secure cell to do his show from, if that's where all drug addicts should be, according to himself.
Well, who better to talk about the sin than the sinner?
And before I leave you, I wanted to point out the Federal Reserve is a private corporation. That's why it's independent.
Yes, we've talked about that. Yes.
Yeah.
It's an independent bank. That's right.
Mm-hmm.
It's a private corporation, and all private corporations are independent of the government, in theory. But the bottom line is that if you want to look that up, there's 2 guys that you need to look up. One's late. Eustace Mullins has passed. Eustace Mullins used to be the librarian work in the Library of Congress, so he had an excellent resource there to be able to do his Secrets of the Federal Reserve book from. The other one would be G. Edward Griffin, who wrote The Creature from Jekyll Island, which is basically an update on Mullins' Secrets of the Federal Reserve. And if all Americans knew what a complete and utter fraud the Federal Reserve Board is, we would stop giving them control over our money.
Well, let me tell you, my friend, if it wasn't for the Federal Reserve in 0809, you would have ended up in a depression. Okay, so let's not be so hard on them. And if it wasn't for the Federal Reserve, it wouldn't be the largest contributor of money to your treasury for your debt. So, there's 2 sides to that story.
True, because the Federal Reserve doesn't print the money. The Bureau of Inflation prints the money.
What did you say?
They don't print the money.
The Bureau of Engraving.
I didn't say that. I said they are the largest payee to the U.S. Treasury.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah, they are.
Because they hold $4.2 billion or $4.2 trillion in U.S. Debt.
Yeah, well, they're trading paper for paper.
Well, that's true. Well, that's what we do.
They're trading paper for paper. Most of what the Federal Reserve Board circulates these days isn't even Federal Reserve notes.
That's true.
It's Treasury notes.
Yep. I've got to go. I'm up against the clock at the bottom of the hour. Thanks for your call. Thanks for your points of view. We appreciate it. Thanks for listening. We'll be right back right after this. 24 minutes for the top of the hour. It is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019, 61 degrees outside. And Shaman Tobin is on the line. What's up, man?
Well, the market opened. It's on the Dow's down 260, so the sell-off will continue, as I said. Standard & Poor's down 20, Nasdaq's down 39. Europe is down across the board primarily, and the FTSE's down 17. DAX is down 5. Not good things happening in Germany. The FTSE in Italy's down 38. No prime minister or leader there yet. The only really good market is the Spanish market. It's up 6. You look at the government bond situation, as we've talked about now, the U.S. 10 years at 1.48 and the 30 years at 1.92, trying to get back to 2%. And commodities, we're looking at the oil at 53.29 U.S., 57 Brent in Europe, natural gas 236, gasoline, look, 146 a gallon, not bad. Gold moving up again, 15.35 to 5.61, so is silver, 8.78, up 29 cents. And you're looking at soybeans, they're down 5.88 at 8.53. Wheat's 4.46. And we will look further down at canola, which is important, 4.47, down 90 cents. Cocoa for coconuts, 2,121. And corn is at 3.54. Live cattle, 98.89. Lean hogs, 64.71, up $1. Beef is at 10.65. An interesting thing about across the board, look at this that I'm watching, of course, is aluminum, 17.49, down 15% for the year. And of course, you have that great talked about issue that everybody thought was going to be a real talk, which is, steel is 36.93, down 21% for the year. But the big story today, largest market in the world now in equities, is the currency market. And the euro now has broken the $1.10. It's at $1.09 to the U.S. dollar. The British pound's at 120, so it's not showing a lot of strength. Of course, the Canadian dollar is, where we've always been, 133. But the traders like to slap China, so it's off a bit. Their currency is 7.18 to the U.S. dollar. All
right. Sounds like a deal. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you're on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Well, good morning, Tom and Shane.
Good morning, Pete. How you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you. That video, the previous gentleman there, a couple callers ago, Seattle is dying. That's been out for a while, and it's an excellent video. But watching the whole shooting thing again in Texas down there, and what they didn't say, or I haven't heard it yet, not that I watch a ton of news, but over the Labor Day weekend, 43 people were shot, 8 killed in Chicago.
I know.
So much for gun control.
Yeah. Yeah, they'll run that news cycle 24 hours about this Texas shooting in Texas, which is terrible, and our prayers are with all those lost and the families that have to deal with it. But again, Chicago outdoes it.
Well, yeah, by far.
It's global warming. It's global warming.
It is global warming, yeah. But at the halfway...
Either that or it's Trump's fault.
Yeah.
At the halfway point through the weekend, they were at 25 shots, 7 killed. That's 12 hours into Saturday. And by the end, 43 shot and 8 dead. And
it doesn't even qualify for the news.
No, I didn't see it anywhere. I had to Googled up. Well, I didn't Google because I don't use Google. But the Chicago Sun-Times, they had it in there. But
the Chicago paper would probably cover it on a regular basis just to keep people informed there. But even in the Gulf Wars, we stopped body counts after a while.
Right. Well, they were popular during Vietnam, though.
Well, very popular, because the opposition was so high.
Right. But if you do, it's a 3-day weekend.
That's right.
That's 14 people a day shot in Chicago. Actually, 14 and a third people shot a day in
and
Chicago.
And you know what's remarkable about it is it's the weekends. Like it's just not a cycle that happens every day in Chicago.
Yeah. Every weekend, people go home from work and load up their Uzi and head out for a drive-by.
That's ill, Tom.
I mean, the golf courses are full, so you got to do something.
But it's amazing, how much control the media actually exercises in this country, concerning what you see and what you get to see and what you don't get to see.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, they need to be comprehensive.
Yeah.
To report it all.
Yeah.
Try telling the truth for once.
I think Wisconsin should just annex Chicago. Get it out of Illinois. They'll have a better time. Wisconsin's more suited to Chicago than Illinois is.
Well, the other thing is that one gentleman mentioned that Trump was talking about Alabama and the hurricane.
Yeah.
But if you listen to the early news on the hurricane, they were saying that it could possibly track right across Florida into the Gulf.
Yeah.
And then those states right there, north of the Gulf.
That's right. They could have all been whacked. Yeah.
And if you look at the storms when they showed the bigger picture, it was like 7 big thunderstorms going on right there in the Gulf, right up in the corner.
Oh yeah.
So it wouldn't be hard to imagine that Alabama would get hit also. So.
True. Well, they're talking about it going all the way up the coast, and the rain and the storm surge and those expensive beachfront property and the erosion of the beaches and everything. I mean, that's a lot of money.
Well,
and there's 2 more months for the season, and there's a great app you can a weather app that you can pick up that'll show you the storms forming in the Atlantic off the coast of Africa, Western Africa.
Yeah. So
a lot more is coming. This isn't the end.
Yeah.
Well, what was amazing about this storm? It's still only moving 1 mile an hour.
Yeah.
And usually when a storm is moving that slow, it tends to weaken.
Well, if it pulls up cooler water from the south, but I think where it's sitting though is pretty shallow water there. I don't think it's very deep. Yeah,
it is. The whole east coast of Florida.
Yeah, you got to go out a ways to.
Well, this place is in the Keys. You can walk out for 1.5 miles and you're still only up to your chest.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that the shelf off of the east coast of Florida is about 40 miles out. So it's a long way out before it drops off into the Atlantic.
Yeah.
Well, and then you hit the Bahamas, and you have the same thing again, only not as much.
Right.
It's with the shallow water, but usually, like you said, when they run out of the warm water on the surface and they start getting into the cooler water, it tends to drive that hurricane down.
Well, I think that's why it's going to a 3 as it comes closer to land. I think that's probably what it's doing. It may have sucked all the warm moisture out of there, and cool is all that's got left. So,
but it's still moving so slow. I mean, a mile an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, it's I don't know, a little strange to me.
I was gonna say that's about twice the speed I walk.
But I take it you're not a big hunter and mountain hiker.
No. I as long as I can still see the truck, I'm all right.
Yeah. It would be a long walk trip for Tom to Yellowstone Park.
That's right. Hey, just going down the hall to the bathroom is a trip and a half,
I'll get you a compass for Christmas so you'll be able to get away from the truck.
Yeah, I need that. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it isn't I can't, it isn't I want to get away from the truck. It's just, I know my limits. If I lose sight of the truck, I can't walk that far back. I'll just die 10 feet from the truck.
Oh, I see you took Clint Eastwood's advice. A man's got to know his limitations.
That's right. A man's got to know his limitations. That's for sure.
You guys have a great day.
All right. Thanks, Pete. All right. We got to take a quick break. We'll be right back. 11 minutes for the top of the hour. Jeff Krauss will join us at 8 o'clock. We've got a couple things on the Jeff list, I think, Shane, to talk to him about. Not sure exactly what they are. One thing we can talk to him about, though, is that residents are going to sue Bozeman over a zoning change. The argument revolves around a zoning change the Bozeman commissioners approved last year that upped the density for 2.29 acres off Baxter Lane to a residential high density district. The land is close to neighborhoods and the future Bozeman Sports Park. 9 nearby residents filed a complaint against the city in Gallatin County District Court in December to void the decision, saying it didn't fit with the area's surroundings. So that may or may not be the case. So maybe we'll talk to Jeff about that one. The city has denied it did anything wrong. This week, Rainbow City Rental Properties, the company that requested the change, entered its own response to counter the complaint and argue it has the right to stick to the new zoning. So we'll see where that plays out. So once again, construction going through the legal process here in Bozeman. Nothing new about that. So let's take a quick phone call. Then we got to take another break. We had a little longer that one call. Caller, you're on the air. What's up?
Yeah, this is Rock. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hey, on the whole shooting thing in Chicago, that's where I'm originally from.
Yep.
But anyway, Sean Hannity the other day had two reverends on from churches in that area, and opposing views. One was all for gun control, the other wasn't. The one guy that was for the gun control said, well, we have strict laws here, but these guys just go across the line over to Indiana to get their guns because they don't have as strict laws. Those guys don't buy their guns legally. They buy their guns on the black market. And so it was kind of interesting. If we get rid of the AKs and the ARs, the assault weapons, it'll solve our problems. So anyway, just kind of interesting.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
All right. Bye-bye.
Take it easy. All right. We'll be right back right after this. All right, 7 minutes for the top of the hour. Jeff Krauss is in the house. Jeff Krauss and friend, I should say. He has a new puppy and brought his puppy and his his poop sheet to put on the floor. So, is he going to stay there or what? I don't know. He's going to look around probably. Anyway, we'll get with Jeff here shortly. Jeff's going to corral his pup and make sure that he's comfortable here. In the meantime, Gallatin County, warmest 90-degree period of the year, which runs roughly from mid-June through mid-September, is almost over, and it looks like we didn't have very many 90-degree days. Shane, do you have many up there in Vancouver?
No, we only have 100 days of nice weather. You know that.
Well, yeah, I guess that's true. It rains the rest of the time, doesn't it?
Yeah, 265 days of.
Yeah. Yeah, year to date, the average highs are running 6.5 degrees below the standard and are the coolest since 1975.
Wow.
And so much for global warming, I guess. The first 8 months of the year rank as the fourth coolest in the last 80 years. Wow. So we're pretty comfortable. What do you think? So far this year at MSU, the overall average temperature, the average of all the daily highs and lows is about 42 degrees, the coolest since 1955. Wow.
Wow.
that was certainly back in the day. And moisture was sparse in August. MSU received less than a half an inch of precip, almost an inch below average, and the least in any August since 2003. And have you noticed anything unusual about the sunset colors the past few weeks? As twilight sets in, look for a pale purple glow in the western sky above a yellowish arch along the horizon. So some of that's due to forest fires, I'm sure, in the areas, but that's usually what causes our cool-looking sunsets. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you're on the Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane. What's up?
Well, I was just thinking when, what's his name, Pete was talking earlier?
Yeah.
About the killings in Chicago.
Right.
The same way they manipulate the numbers with the weather, they're eventually going to have to talk about the killings in the big cities if they want this stuff to actually pass, if they want to legitimately try to take guns away from people who don't commit crimes.
Yeah.
So what they're going to do is they'll find a way to cut off the numbers to manipulate the numbers. I know I've called in before here the way they do it. You just mentioned how cool we've been in Montana since the coolest in 75. And actually, it's probably even cooler than that. So if the numbers they're giving you are saying what they're saying, I would knock 10% off of that.
Oh, okay.
If you look at the positioning of where they put all their thermometers in the first place, and then you look at the time of day when they cut off their temperatures, their numbers aren't real. Like, I can't tell you how many times, at least once or twice a week, especially in the spring and the fall, they cut their temperatures off at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So if you have a 90-degree day on a Thursday when a fall front is coming through that afternoon, and it's 91 degrees at 3:59 p.m., right? At 4:01 p.m., they start recording the temperature for the next day. So that front is going to come through that night. The next day, the temperature won't get out of the 60s or 70s, and the high temperature will still be recorded as 91 degrees because that's how they manipulate their data. So there's that saying that numbers don't lie, but the people who put the numbers in the position of the equation sure as hell do.
Yeah.
So
looking at our week here, I'm looking at the highs 5 p.m., 6 p.m. in there. Yeah. You're pretty close to it. It's 4 p.m. there.
Trust me, that's exactly how they do it, man. They over the last 10, 15 years, they move the positioning of the thermometers to where they're always facing south and getting more sunshine and things like that. And it's just, I mean, it's ridiculousness is all it is.
All right.
I know. I do love this summer, though. I hope we can get 10 more of them in a row. It'd be wonderful.
Well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? Yeah. Not sweating to death at night, at least. We're pretty comfortable sleeping.
I've been closing my windows a couple of these nights, and we got a front coming through Friday. We're supposed to be in the 60s all week next week, 60s, 70s. So
there you are.
Get ready for fall. All right. Thanks.
All right. Hey, thanks for the call. Yeah, we're ready for the football season to start. That's for sure. Already has college starts this weekend. And also on the 12th, coming up, coming up this Thursday, we're going to be giving away football tickets to the Cats game on Saturday. And there's two ways you can win. One is call us on Thursday when we announce when we're going to take calls. But ahead of time, we're going to have a drawing on our smart app. Our app chat, I should say. So you can go over there, and all you have to do is go over to our app chat and put in the word soapbox, and go to our app chat and just put the word soapbox in there. We'll sort those, and we've got a program that'll select someone at random, and we'll get you tickets that way. So if you want to get entered, there's two ways you can win. One is go to AM 1450 KMMS and get the app chat. And go or wait till 7 o'clock at the top of the hour at 7 o'clock, and we'll give away tickets here as well. So you'll be set either way. So sounds pretty good. So get some tickets. Also, next week, we're going to have Jay Owenhouse tickets. He's going to be in town on the 14th. So we'll be giving tickets away that way, the same way. We got VIP tickets. We got regular price tickets. So VIP tickets, you can go behind the scenes and meet Jay and pet the tiger and do all the fun stuff see all the magic equipment, and maybe he'll do some sleight of hand magic for you up close or whatever. So can't promise anything, but we'll probably have him in here for an interview. So we'll be talking to him about what he's going to do for you. So that should wrap it up. Jeff Krauss is up next. So I know you want to stay tuned for that, because even though they didn't meet, he's definitely got something going on. So, and he's got a new puppy that's pretty cute. So we may have to talk to the pup. So we'll see how that goes. All right. We gotta duck out of here. Hey, we've got the Fox News coming up, Montana State News, and Brooke Foster weather. We'll be back with Jeff Krauss right after the news. Thank you, Dan. Welcome back, everyone. Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019, 64 degrees, 6 minutes after the hour. Shane Matobin, half man, half amazing in Vancouver, British Columbia, and Tom Eaglehoff, your unelected morning mayor, but still hanging in there after 10 months. So, and Jeff Krauss is in the house, a real, actual, 3-time mayor of Bozeman.
Yeah. We're these days, you're still not appointed, you're still not elected, but
right,
here you are.
Yeah, but here I am.
Sometimes it's just whoever shows up.
Yeah, that's true. And you got your new pup with you, Mouse, a terrier mix, I guess.
Yeah, rat terrier, Chihuahua mix.
And, all right, cute, cute as a. I can't tell you how cute it is.
Yeah, she is very cute.
Puppies are cute.
I know they are.
They just too cute.
They grow into dogs and eat your furniture.
I know.
And, yeah,
you can't trust them anywhere. So.
Well, yeah. So
once again, the city's under siege by attorneys, and we've got a bunch of people suing you for not a shopping center, but
for
whatever.
having neighbors.
Yeah. Don't build next to me. I'm in Montana.
Yeah.
So you've been accused. The city has been accused of breaking state and city rules by increasing how many buildings are allowed on roughly 2 acres and harming their neighborhood in the process. So what are we talking about here anyway?
Well, so I can talk about it a little bit in generic terms, and that is, somebody. Yeah. I don't think I've ever voted no when someone comes to the city and says we want to annex. As long we may have never let it get that far. You have to be next to the city, right? So you have to be adjoining the city, and there's some other standards you have to meet. We have to be able to provide sewer and water to you,
right?
But given those things, I think in general we've always annexed. At least I have always voted to annex property into the city, and one of the reasons for doing that is that allows a higher density.
Right.
A little dog is chasing your pencil.
I know, yeah. What's going on with my pencil here?
Yeah. Trying to get her interested in this pigs here. Yeah. But anyway, and so someone who owns 2 acres, it's near the high school.
Right, yeah.
Right, the park.
The Sportsman's Park is going in there with all the soccer fields and practice fields and all that. Yeah.
So, of course you'd want to develop, you can just read the brochure from here next to the, next to the park, easy walking distance to the high school, the whole thing, right? And so once we annex, we vote to annex, then we have to zone it. And we look at the growth policy. What is the growth policy? Does it say future residential? Well, then, then we would put some kind of residential on there. If it says future commercial, we'd probably put some commercial zoning on it. And so those are the considerations, really, that we do when we annex a property, right? What's the growth policy say, and what's the and can we provide? Is it in the service area? So
true.
That's what we did. I think one of the things that people need to understand is, the city of Bozeman is developing at a much higher density than it used to. So even 10 years ago, what was thought of as high density is not as high density as we're developing today. And part of that is because land is more expensive and building material, just the whole thing. People are building smaller, taller, denser.
I was going to say, I saw the Black Olive building for the first time. I think, man, that is one huge building. That's a big place.
Well, it's what, 4 stories?
4 stories.
Four stories.
It looks higher than 4 stories.
Yeah, and I think they got the outside on it now, right? Yeah. So it's
but it's pretty big.
it's right there. What, kitty corner to the federal building across the street. So and I don't know. It's always been zoned that, right? Mm-hmm. The situations are a little different in that where Black Olive was, it's always been zoned forever since the 50s as being downtown zoning, high density and commercial and
the other side of
apartments.
Mendenhall, same way. So
sure.
if you're if you're on Olive or if you're on the other side of Mendenhall, was that Lammy?
Yeah. Well, look at the Medical Arts building. Half of it's 1 story, but the other, the other part's a tower, 3.5 stories, 4 stories, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's on Villard. So you can see how deep to the north downtown zoning goes. Yeah. But anyway, out here on next to I live somewhat near the high school, and if you 3 sides of that property where the high school's going in, it's townhomes and duplexes and 3-story apartment buildings.
Is that what they've got planned here? It doesn't really say what they're.
Well, that would be
that it's going to be density housing, which I assume is condos or apartments or something like that.
Well, remember that. That's a different application. That's a site plan application. So that's when we check to make sure that they observe the setbacks and that they, the site is suitable for
they're
what
saying
they're
it's
proposing.
Different than the neighborhood character. So I assume that means it's not like homes or, regular single-family homes or things like that.
Well.
If they're changing the character of the neighborhood, usually that means some kind of monstrosity going in.
Right. So what I would say, without getting into any specifics, is on the edge of town, when you're looking over the wheat field, but you're in a house or you're across the street from a high school, you're going to anticipate that something as large as a high school, just like if you were to put a interchange in from the interstate, you're going to see development. Right. If you're going to put a high school out in a wheat field, the surrounding wheat fields are not going to be wheat fields for long.
No.
And there's going to be all kinds of housing proposed, not just R1 to infinity and beyond, but high-density housing. I think people forget over half of people who live in Bozeman live in apartments. Yeah. They rent. Okay, so over half, 55% of people in Bozeman rent. They don't own their own home. They don't own their own townhome or condo. And so rentals are everywhere in Bozeman, and they're mixed in with every other kind of housing. And just because you have a house next to you doesn't mean it's not going to be rented to a bunch of college students, right? I mean, we see those all over the place. I think part of the reason that happens is we simply don't have enough actual apartments to cover the demand, and so you get people buying houses and putting a bunch of college students in it. I think rentals are everywhere.
Yeah,
and
particularly in a college town, because you've got a customer source there, so.
Captive audience.
Captive audience. That's right. And we're something of a transition, people moving in, people moving out kind of town, right? People are in transition in Bozeman a lot of times.
Every 7 years, something like that. I've heard the population.
I don't know. I've been here forever.
Yeah,
so
I know. Me too.
Yeah, but I think they're it snows in June and people say that's it. I'm out of here.
Yeah, right.
I think that. That combination, though, when you see a big park go in, when you see a big high school or some other kind of government facility go in, you're going to anticipate that the surrounding area is going to change rapidly.
Yeah.
One of the ways to control what happens in the lot next to you is to buy the lot next to you.
Yeah.
And build on it yourself. Build whatever you want to live next to. That's certainly an option.
Will the city let you split a house between two lots as long as you own them? Can you build half on one lot and half on the other?
No, not necessarily. Not usually. No.
Okay, I was going to say, I didn't think that
you can't
would be...
build across lot lines.
Yeah.
Yep. But, you could always consolidate.
So you could have a big front yard or a big backyard or...
Yeah. Or you could put in you can have a 0 lot line, so you could build, like a big duplex and have one on one side, one on the other, or sell the one townhouse.
Yeah.
There are options, but I think to anticipate that everything's going to be single family homes around you. Or that it should be in the city of Bozeman, is wrong.
Well, I think that's their complaint is the zoning change from what it was, I guess, when they moved in, is what they're claiming.
Well, it was rural. It was out in the county.
Oh, okay.
So this was a piece of ground that was out in the county.
Mm-hmm.
People that bought it came to us and said, "We want to annex into the city."
Yeah.
So
and then they say,
I said, "Sure, annex into the city."
Yeah. And then they claim that you, last year, you upped the density for 2.29 acres of that you changed the zoning for that area. Once you annexed it, I guess.
Once we annexed it, we put the original city zoning on it. Okay, so it was not zoned by the city because it wasn't in the city.
It wasn't in the city, so.
Right, so what we do whenever someone comes to us and says, "I want to annex in," we consider those two things. So there's a couple more, but mainly, can we provide services? It isn't in our service area, and make sure that it's in the growth policy. That's what we look at, and I don't think I've ever said no to an annexation because I think, for the most part, we prefer. Here in the city that you build to urban densities on urban sewer and water, treated sewer, and then we put the original zoning. We take a look at our growth policy. Is it residential? Is it commercial? Is it industrial?
Yeah. And
once we decide that, then we put some kind of zoning on it. And again, I'd say you're going to see much higher densities than even 10 years ago.
Okay. We got to take a break. Jeff Krauss is in the house, and Mouse Krauss is in the house. And Jeff and Shaman Tobin Douglas is in the house. Tom Eaglehoff, your morning mayor. This is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane and Jeff Krauss, of course. And we'll be right back with more stimulating conversation right after these important words. Stay tuned. 21 minutes after the hour of 8 a.m. Tuesday, that means it's Jeff Krauss Day. Shaman Tobin, half man, half amazing, in Vancouver, British Columbia, just monitoring to make sure that we get everything right. And
yeah, I'm fact-checking everything.
That's right.
Oh, good.
Jeff Krauss in the house with me, of course. He's our guest every Tuesday, and keeping
Hi,
up.
Jeff. Hi, Mousy.
Hey.
Keeping up to track on what the city's up to these days. And, well, you didn't meet this Monday, so since it was Labor Day.
We didn't, but I can tell you, the contractors out there building roads for the city and the school district, and even the developer back there. They've been busy on the west side of town. You might have noticed it's tough to get there from here.
I was going to say, whose bright idea was it to close Cottonwood and Ferguson both at the same time?
Just do the whole thing, right? Yeah, that is crazy.
I know.
And for a while,
just in time for school to start too.
And for a while, I tried to get through, and Flanders Mill was closed too.
Yeah.
By the way, I just point out, Oak now goes through to Laurel Parkway.
All right.
Behind the high school,
it'll go
to
behind
the north of the high
yeah.
school.
Yeah. So you can just keep going north on Oak. Past the high school.
Keep going west.
I saw they were almost having that open the other day when I went through there. So
it's only two out of the 4 lanes and half the roundabout, but it does go all the way down to Laurel Parkway.
Mm-hmm. Then you can go south to Durston, and if
then
you
out,
want to go that way.
And then I go out that way. So,
okay.
Now,
Is that 25 mile an hour too?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, the whole town ought to be, except for maybe Maine and 19th. The whole town ought to be 25 miles an hour.
Okay.
Frankly.
Well, it's just when you're out there with no traffic, it seems kind of counterproductive to getting to where you want to go.
Just relax. You're in the city.
Enjoy
Pay attention to the pedestrians walking by.
Yeah. Okay. We can do that. Let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number, 522-8255. Caller, you're on the air with Jeff Krauss, Tom and Jane. What's up?
Hello?
Hello. How you doing?
Good. I have a question. It seems like some of the zoning's been changed around Wilson and Villard because the new places that are being built there, I know that they're not meeting the existing setback or property line variances.
Well, so the corner of Wilson and Villard is downtown. It's zoned B3. So I think you can go 0 lot lines with.
Are you talking about the construction
B3.
across from the job center and there by Mountain View?
No, right over by the Med Arts building. It's a residential area.
It's zoned for downtown, so it's B3. Goes all the way to Villard. I mean, take a look at the Medical Arts building, right? It's one story, but it's also, and it goes right to the sidewalk in places. And then you've got the tower coming off of Villard, right there. That's all zoned downtown zoning.
But you do have some setbacks on Mountain View on Villard. It's set back quite a ways from the street.
What's Mountain View now?
The rest home attached to it's the old hospital.
Oh, the old hospital. Well, I mean, the old hospital's it's built.
I mean,
right?
that was long ago. Well, there's two constructions in that area. The one is across from the job service, and
across from the job service again.
Right. And then the other one is down the street where the trailer park was,
and where the trailer park is, and that's
residential
R3,
there.
Residential 3.
Yeah.
So that has the 5-foot setbacks on the side yards, and but the 20-foot setbacks in the back.
But the one, I guess that the caller's referring to on Villard does not have to meet those standards. Or?
Well, I don't know. I would have to go see where it is exactly on Villard. And then take a look at the zoning.
They're building residential homes, high density residential homes that have basically no setback from the property line.
It just depends on what the zoning is, what the setbacks are. So setbacks vary as to what kind of zoning.
So if it's downtown zoning, it would be closer to the sidewalk would be permitted, and
closer to the
not
sidewalk,
in residential.
But if it's R3, I think mostly surrounding that is R3, then, there are some traditional setbacks there.
Okay.
But it's 5 feet.
So I guess it depends on where the zone, what zoning that's in as to
I just,
what the setbacks are.
Is it, let's see, Wilson and Villard?
It's where the old trailer park used to be.
Oh, yeah, where the old trailer park used to be. I'm sure that's being built according to...
Well, those are going to be townhomes or condos or something there.
I believe they're going to be. Townhomes.
Yeah, they're going to be high density housing.
There are 3, so they're likely to have.
Now, are townhomes setbacks on townhomes and things like that different than houses?
Well, it depends internally, right? You could have 0 lot lines.
Yeah.
In between the townhomes, right? You could have. Like I live in a townhome, and then I share a wall with my neighbor.
Yeah.
And he lives in a townhome, but we both own our lots.
Yeah.
But we go right to the lot line, obviously, if we're sharing a wall.
Well, yeah.
So that can happen.
Okay.
But I believe that's zoned R3. So there would be some, 20 feet in the rear and 5 on the side. That wouldn't be internal, but that would be the setbacks there.
Okay. What about the front, though? Where
it's
pedestrians go back and forth in front of your property.
Yeah, they would. They go pretty close. I mean, you can You can see some of those houses.
Okay. I would
you
assume
walk
if they're
around
building
town-
them, they're building them to
Right.
specifications that the
Right.
city demanded. So.
That didn't even that development didn't even come in front of the city commission. So I doubt that they asked for a single variance. I'm sure that they built completely according to the Unified Development Code.
Okay.
And so I'm sure they're observing
Say,
all
that
the
was a
setbacks.
private deal between the guy who owned the trailer park and the developer.
Right,
He
but the
just
developer
decided
had to propose that to the city and get
True.
that development approved.
Yeah.
We would have, if there had been any relaxations or deviations or variances, we would have heard those. And
Well, I was going to say you went
didn't come in
through
front of
a
us.
lot of that with the Black Ollie building.
only because
Parking, I mean, was the issue there.
Right.
kind
Well, the
of.
first
And there were
time-
some other things too, but
the first time they asked for a variance on parking and we turned them down.
yeah,
Right. We didn't give them a variance on
Right.
parking. Then they reduced the number of apartments in there, and then they qualified parking wise.
yeah, okay.
But no, I don't think there are any deviations or relaxations or variances in that,
In that-
stuff on
that
Wilson that
particular
used
one.
to be the old trailer park.
Okay. All right. Hey, thanks for the call. Hope that answered your question. We got to go.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks a lot. All right. Where Jeff Krauss is in the house, Shane and Tom on the line, Tom Eagleoff in the studio, and well, we haven't even got to our Jeff list yet. So we
The
gotta,
Jeff list.
we got to
coming
get
up.
on. We got to see if there's anything on the Jeff list. If not, we'll just persevere on with other things. So. All right, that wraps it up for this portion. We still have a full half hour to go, and we'll be right back right after the news. Stay tuned. 25 minutes for the top of the hour. It is Tuesday, September 3rd, 2019, 63 degrees outside. Jeff Krauss, three-time mayor of Bozeman and current city commissioners in the house. Shane Matavin on the line from Vancouver, British Columbia. Tom Eagleoff, your morning mayor. And this is the KMMS Morning Soapbox with Tom and Shane and Jeff. And you got a new dog. Got
Yeah.
a new.
It's Little Mouse.
Yeah, it's. I would say it's 5 pounds, maybe.
No,
if it's
yeah,
wet.
it's probably 4.
4 pounds, 4 or 5 pounds. Yeah, it doesn't look very.
If it was 5 pounds, it means
Yeah.
since Thursday it gained 1.5 pounds over 3.5 pounds, which would be, 50% more. Didn't quite make that, but over the weekend I saw somebody made an observation that the Burger King was closed to only open for drive up over Labor Day.
Wow.
And I
They
think
don't want to pay time and a half, and they don't have enough people to probably work the full shift anyway.
it's interesting.
Yeah.
We're seeing these kinds of stories now,
Yeah.
right? Where employers are cutting back on hours, and
Yeah.
places are closing and citing a lack of employees. And I hear sort of back channel things like unable to find people to stock shelves over the midnight shift, and
Yeah.
so I think for decades, many years, Bozeman businesses have depended on college students to help fill their
Fill the void,
workforce,
and they're
right?
willing to work for a little beer money and some ski passes, rather than they don't demand a full-time job. So
And I think, between that and the construction industry and some of the other alternative, high tech and some of the other industries we've got going now that pay really well, there's a lot of employers out there struggling.
right.
And I think it's a little bit of, future shock for Bozeman's future is, it's very expensive to live here.
Wait, now I've been quiet for almost an hour, so I have to comment. I disagree with you. The $15 an hour is a problem. I think the difficulty that you've been citing and Tom has for the last year is the availability of people to do the work. And so, when you have, what was that other restaurant you mentioned to me, Tom, or us, that closed?
Perkins. Perkins closed. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I know we've gone back and forth about this, but I think the difficulty that you have is, and I've mentioned this before, standards in retail block or building industry isn't going to fall into place until the major corporations that are leading now, Amazon, Facebook, and so forth, with increasing salaries, because salaries are going up already because of the demand for labor. So, I think the problem that you have is it's the cost to live in Bozeman, and you can't make money in one of those types of jobs to live there. That's the problem.
Yeah, this is
That's
always
certainly part of it. Yeah,
except for the '80s when we were in essentially a depression in Bozeman. It's always been a fairly expensive place to live. Right?
Yeah, and it is.
When I got here,
when
I got here in '75, there were no apartments to rent here. It was a tight
the point
apartment
is
market.
that $15, you still can't afford to live in that city.
Well, not without roommates or
you'd have
something
to have
else.
roommates, something like that.
You gotta. That's where the college has to go both.
Now, do you know
both
what they
ways.
pay at what are the wages like up at the ski hills?
I don't know. I haven't applied up there.
We should check that. I should check that out.
It's not just the cost of living, though. I think people are picky about where they want to work now.
True.
And if you're an employer where it's cool to be an employee, people will take less to work there.
Yeah.
Or if you are an employer that's willing to work around your employee schedule is determined by their class schedule. If you're willing to do that, but I see a lot of ads for full-time daylight, like furniture delivery or appliance delivery or whatever. And then of course you go through the Walmart when you walk in, there's all these jobs there. And a lot of them are midnight unloading and stocking shelves. Sure. And I'm not seeing a whole lot of people moving to Bozeman to work midnights at the Walmart. Yeah. So there are, some of it you can do with a shift differential and pay more. I don't know who cleans motel rooms in Bozeman. That has to be done in the, that's a fairly time-sensitive thing.
It's got to be college kids. They do the landscaping, and the college kids do the hospitality work, and
I think
waiters and waitresses, and that's
but waiters and waitresses at night. See, if you work 6 to 11, that still gives you a couple hours to play, go out and have a little nightlife, and then you get up and go to class.
Yeah.
And so I think those jobs are still in demand, by employees. Employees still want to fill those. And, either you're going to school or you're skiing, either one, that kind of job fits your schedule. I think much more difficult to, a full-time, whether it's midnights or daylights, try to attract college students to do that kind of work.
Yeah. Let's take a phone call real quick, then we got to take a break. Caller, you're on the air with Jeff Krauss. What's up?
Hey, guys, you were talking about housing is a problem. I know the city's constantly trying to do the affordable housing thing, which is basically granting the lottery to a handful of people. I was just thinking if they are really serious about it, I would think the county and the city would get together and allow more mobile parks, because you can get pretty good density, fairly inexpensive housing for those people, like you say, that can't afford real housing with normal pay from around the valley.
Well, the problem with that is, though, you got to have 24-foot wide streets, and you got to have curbs and gutters and drainage and electricity and
even out in the county, and a paved road, and so they're.
Yeah, you can't build a trailer park anymore with narrow streets and blacktop curbs and stuff like that, unfortunately.
So
if the city would relax those restrictions, then I think that would be a big answer to the problem.
No one has walked in the door. No one's walked in the door and said, "I want to do a mobile home park." I do know one developer who has at least investigated it, but I think you make more money once you've developed the property, once you have the land, which is very expensive, the land cost, and you've done, run the sewer and water and the streets. You can't afford to put mobile homes on it.
Now,
Yeah.
Jeff, you're my good friend because we've been talking for a long time and we've had this conversation before. So, step one, the city should call FEMA. They have 150,000 trailers, single wide, double wide, every wide, every size. They're stored, they're stacked. Then the city should buy a piece of property. We're talking about this gentleman called to ask you about the city creating low-cost housing.
The city
calls.
Yes.
Let me finish.
Okay.
Call FEMA. Find out how many trailers you can get from them free. Buy the property. Pay for the infrastructure because you're collecting money for it to do it, and put the trailers on there. And then you have monthly recurring income for the city. Wow, what a great idea. The city's actually got monthly reoccurring income.
And you're back in the real estate business.
And you're solving – well, no, but
Shane, you and I fundamentally disagree on this. I think it's because you're from Canada, basically.
That's it.
And there's just a little socialism has crept in there. I do not think government should be in the housing business, okay?
Well,
so I don't want Cabrini Green, and I don't want the mobile home version of Cabrini Green.
Well, I'll tell you. All right. I've got to take a break, guys. Thanks for the call. I appreciate you listening. We'll take a break. We'll continue on the other side right after this, so stay tuned. All right. Hey, we are back. What, Shane? What?
Oh, we got a great guy on the phone. Come on, let's go with it.
Okay, let's take a phone call. 522-TALK is the number. Caller, you are on the air with Jeff Krauss. What's up?
Well, I was talking to Shane. This is Jack.
Yeah, Jack.
And I was talking to Shane about the fact that down in Mesa, where a lot of snowbirds go, as well as other locations down there in Arizona and Southern California, where people live in mobile home parks, and they're well coordinated, managed, and they're actually beautiful. You go into them, nice layouts, everything. In some areas, you wouldn't even know you're in a mobile home park. But the point is, it is doable if you want to put your head to it and make it that way. But I understand there's a lot of resistance to that because of a lot of problems. But actually, I called up for another reason, and that reason is something that maybe Jeff might consider. When I was working up at the college, they had a work-study program going on, as they do in many colleges around the country. But it was having to do with money paid for people that worked in the college, that sort of thing. I think there's an opportunity here for the business community as well as the university community to come up with some kind of a work-study program that would benefit the businesses in Bozeman and somehow, and I don't know how this would happen, but somehow work at the other end so that the student would have some kind of a break up at the college for whatever they were studying. I mean, there's enough to work with there that you could interest both sides into getting something for cooperating and trying to get a program going where you could have a work-study program in the businesses around Bozeman if you work it through. What do you think?
Okay. Hey, thanks for the call. All right. What do you think, Jeff?
Well, I did work study when I was in school, 1985 to 1988. I did work study. I also had student loans, by the way. Higher ed is a great investment as long as you look at it as an investment. And the work study, of course, was scheduled around. I ran the bike and ski repair shop for outdoor rec there, and I had to have people fill in when I went to class. I think that works really well. But to do that, you have to qualify for financial aid. So work study is tied to qualifying for financial aid, just so you understand, up at the university. And yes, there would be, maybe there is another kind of program, but I think whatever the program, or imaginative idea, it's going to be the employers that schedule around the employee's schedule, right? They have a flexible schedule.
Yep.
They don't insist that, in other words, it's going to be difficult. And the hours they can get employees, they're not going to be able to be open. And I think those kinds of things are what's going to change how we go about our business, right? When fast food becomes expensive, it won't be as popular, right?
Probably
because
right, I guess.
And there's going to be robots, and there's going to be only takeout, right? So, like as we are seeing now. Yeah. It's
like
just
the
going to be
drive-in
different.
theater mentality. You can't afford you can't make enough off that piece of land to make a drive-in theater feasible.
Right.
Unless you want to charge $25 a movie.
Besides,
a person
you order in, someone delivers your food, and from the grocery store or wherever, and you heat it up and you Netflix and chill, right? Yep. I mean, that's not a restaurant, that's not and that's not a drive-in theater.
Yeah.
It just there are no haberdashers.
Yeah.
Right.
We're changing,
and I think that here in Bozeman we're going to. Because of we're going to be a microcosm, and there's all people get into the kids these days things. Look, having a discussion about kids these days is not going to help you, the employer, fill your needs. Right? You're going to have to adjust to the times and figure out what it is you're going to have to do. Yep. Maybe that's contacting the university and saying, I need X number of students. How can we get them a little credit
do this,
while they're working?
Yeah. Okay. We got to take a quick break because we got to get the Rush update in. Shane, we got a caller waiting on the line. If you could waterboard them, we'll be right back with more right after this. Hang on. Here's Rush. 4 minutes for the top of the hour. We've got a caller patiently waiting on the line. Caller, you are on the air with Jeff Krauss. What's up?
I love the way that Master Krauss ruled. What a magnificent iron hand. He said that there's not a good way to use the direct democracy where the people make the decisions. Instead, the representatives should really have a hand in all the decisions. Otherwise, it will deteriorate into a mob rule. But in this case of getting trailers from FEMA and putting them on city land, at what point would you say that people have it smart enough to at least decide for themselves whether they want that, rather than you holding back the decision because you think it's one way or the other? How much money does the city right now hold on its books for low-cost housing that could be used for that brilliant idea?
None.
I don't think there's any money that could be used for FEMA trailers on city land. I've heard that proposed
the question was, how much money do you have on your books
to be used for that? Used for FEMA trailers on city land, and the answer is none.
Well, it's for affordable housing.
It is for affordable housing. That's right. And so,
how much money do you have on the books for affordable housing?
Several $100,000, right? And we spend most of that every year on, for example, they're just doing the Willow Springs. We spent some of that money. HRDC is doing Willow Springs.
That's 12 homes, is that right?
I think it's 24.
Is it 24?
Yeah.
Maybe 12 is the minimum you got to do to get the grant or whatever it is.
No. If you develop more than 10, you have to either do cash in lieu or build affordable housing.
Okay.
That's a minimum thing. But so the answer to Daniel R. Peterson's question is, we're subject to the rule of law here in our republic. And part of that has to do with electing representatives who take the time to understand the concepts and the issue,
pros and cons.
The pros and cons, and make a decision. And people trust us to do that.
Well, we understand, too. You think we're dumb?
No, Daniel R. Peterson, I don't think you're dumb. I always enjoy talking to you.
All right, I'm out of time. Got to go. See, from our text line, affordable housing, not everyone is supposed to be able to afford a house. Someone making $15, $20 an hour won't be able to buy a home in Bozeman, and probably not most places that aren't named Libby or Plentywood, Montana. So,
that's good.
There you are. It would be great to have shows posted in the archives within a week versus 2+ weeks. Well, my archives go up about an hour after the show. So you can go online and you'll see our stuff goes up pretty quickly. So our shows, this show will be up at least by 10:30. So maybe before that. So, all right, we got to go. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Shane.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jeff. Everyone be happy, be safe. God bless.
All right.